Hi, welcome back to Watchbox Studios live and our real-time coverage of Baselworld. Joining you for the evening here on the East Coast of the United States, I'm your host Tim Massa. We are following Baselworld 19 with an analysis and opinion take on the show so far. Baselworld proper is only a little bit less than 48 hours old, but it seems like we've been seeing new watches for a week now. So we are going to talk about the controversies of Baselworld to date. This is not a time to slam. This is not a time to get negative for the sake of being negative. We're going to talk about managing expectations and how different brands have managed to do that. First, even during Basel, no better place than thewatchbox.com to buy, sell, and trade watches, especially when you sell. We pay cash, we pay fast, we make it a no-brainer, and of course they pay me, which is the best thing of all. And before we jump headlong into the program, remember, help me hit 50K in 2K19, Tim_Masso on Instagram. It's where I do nothing but 60-second video reviews of watches, and I've probably got a few hundred of them up by now. You can literally binge watch my Instagram. Main feature, friends joining in, as a 28 and Smoke Eater. Hi, Edward Ledden of Sweden. Welcome and hello, Edward. Baselworld 2019 early controversies, with Patek, Rolex, Breitling, Seiko, Grand Seiko, and Zenith having effectively fired their bolt. We have a bone to pick with some of the watches, naturally. As I said, this is not the place or the time to slam anything. There are other places to find that on YouTube. I'm sure you already know where they are. What we're going to do is talk about how brands have managed expectations of collectors who might have hoped for lower prices, more adventurous designs, more watches in the line for 2019, fewer watches in the line for 2019, or a different style than they wound up getting. And we're going to start with the first controversy, which has been Seiko and Grand Seiko. Again, there are no bad watches in this summary from any of these brands. We're talking about the management of expectations. The discussion of 2019 pricing has been raging for a good 24 hours since we saw the first Grand Seiko and Seiko 2019 product. But the ever-escalating pricing of Seiko's universe has been underway for at least the last 4 years. Everyone has his epiphany, the moment when he realizes he's witnessed a paradigm change for a brand. And for me, that moment was Baselworld 2017, with the Grand Seiko Professional Diver, the SBGH 257, at $9,800 US. It was an attractive watch, but in 2017, that model stunned me as a watershed moment for the brand. That's $1,250 more than a Rolex Submariner with a date. Seiko followed suit, increasingly using Grand Seiko calibers as well as case finishing, and you can see this year's SLA 033, the 1970 diver's recreation, that has Grand Seiko finish and a Grand Seiko movement inside. And I have to say, at $4,250, that's actually one of the more affordable 2019 Seiko sports rollouts. The 2019 Seiko Prospex LX line takes this trend to a new height with basic GMT models retailing for $5,000 and two titanium dive references hitting dealer cases at $6,000. A basic Rolex Oyster Perpetual 36mm costs $5,400 and slots right into the price range of these new Seikos. I don't mean to compare the Rolex to the capability or function of Seiko's spring drive Prospex LX models, but the fact that there's any price overlap at all is a little bit shocking. I could see my friends are joining in, and I could see Andrew, Cull Obsidian, David G, Philip, Sebastian Peterson, True Lie. Friday show, guys. Friday and prime time by the standards of these YouTube broadcasts. Zeus joining in. Hey guys, Hellbop here. Thank you for joining me. David Mercer, JBO from Adelaide, Australia. I can see we've got Mazine 44, Friday bonus, you better believe it. Cull Obsidian from London, BS, hey Tim on a Friday, you better believe it. And Adrian Cohen from England. I can see Ian Chan getting up early with us from Singapore. So Grand Seiko's points on the trend line this year were even more extreme than the price escalations we saw at Seiko. I'm not talking about the 2019 Halo models, like the 100-piece $42,000 SPGC 230 in rose gold, or the $76,000 flagship Elegance Snowflake dial and case SPGC Z001. Lots of brands have one or two absurd image builders in the lineup. Omega has its Tourbillon, IWC has its Sidereal Scafusia and its Grand Complications, Nomos has the Lambda, and these rare exotics don't define the lineup or the price direction as a whole. But Grand Seiko's mainstream 2019 sports watches do push the limit. The new SBGA 403, 44.5mm titanium, it's a spring drive automatic, $10,600 US. The chronograph GMT SBGC 231, 500 pieces in titanium, is $12,900. Guys, for perspective, a Rolex Daytona retails for $12,400. Grand Seiko appears to be attempting what Omega successfully accomplished in this past decade, dramatically ramping up retail prices while vacating the low end of the line. But it was a bit of a bittersweet victory for Omega. We have this one instructive case. The resulting watches from Omega in the 10,000 plus price range were often considered overabundant, perhaps produced a bit in excessive demand, and often difficult to sell at list price. There has been some gray market action there. Tag Heuer attempted the same trick prior to 2014. They never quite accomplished the journey that Omega did complete. You saw a wholesale reboot of the Tag Heuer line after 2014, focusing on the $1,500 to $5,500 watch. At their current ramp rates, Seiko seems destined to target the price bracket occupied by Grand Seiko only 5 to 6 years ago. And Grand Seiko looks ready to attack Rolex and Omega pricing head on. Let me know in the comments below, as well as the live chat, because this is live streaming. Is this hubris or is this smart for Grand Seiko and Seiko? And I can see right here, we've got True Lie saying, I don't think Seiko's pricing increase is going to work out too well for them. Greg Sherlock joining in from Manly, Sydney, Australia. And I could see BS saying, surprised with Seiko and Grand Seiko pricing. I don't know if the brand is ready to compete head-to-head with Rolex. Super Steel, a West Coastal from outside of Conus. Super Steel joining us from Anchorage, Alaska. Okay. Controversies surrounding our next two brands. These are twinned and joined at the hip forever, but Rolex and Tudor 2019, many have cited a lack of ambition from both brands. Compared to last year, when Rolex and Tudor seemed to own Baselworld with one Pepsi GMT watch apiece and value winners like the Black Bay 58, watches everyone seemed to love, 2019 does seem like a little bit of a desert from these brands. Rolex's new GMT-Master is likely to be popular, but it didn't seem to pack the Richter scale punch that took last year's Baselworld. Last year's model, the Pepsi GMT, well, it was out of left field. It was what everyone had hoped for in their wildest dreams. This bezel, bracelet, and movement for 2019 have been seen before on other watches. We've seen the black and blue, we've seen the steel Jubilee. A model can be popular and successful without electrifying collectors, and that seems to be the fate of this one. It's going to make a lot of money for Rolex. There's going to be a wait list, but I don't think anyone felt like he'd been struck straight to a nerve when he saw that watch. Last year, we did get that effect. This is competent. The previous watch was spectacular. It doesn't give Rolex anything substantial that it didn't already have after the 2018 Pepsi, and I suspect the presence of two nearly identical steel Jubilee bracelet GMTs will cause a little bit of convergence that will actually beat down the secondary market prices of the existing Pepsi Jubilee GMTs. And I've spoken to Josh, and he said just in the last 24 hours, we've actually seen some market action to that effect, that the Pepsi Jubilee Steel GMTs have seen their market retrench a little bit as this has arrived. I think this will see escalation from its retail price on the secondary market. The Pepsi will drop a little bit, and they will meet somewhere around 16 to 17,000 US dollars. All right. The new Yacht-Master has inspired two common reactions. First, and it seems almost universal, people have admitted this is a sexy looking watch. The two-tone effect, the black and the white, is hot. And Rolex's design team can leave Baselworld knowing in good conscience that they have a win to their credit. The watch looks the business. And that's before you get to the Oyster Flex strap bracelet. Second, and this is the second reaction I've seen almost across the board from collectors, everyone was deflated by the full white gold construction. The price of $26,800 US dollars deflated quite a few folks who were ready to lay down a deposit and wait for a year plus on a steel-cased Oyster Flex 42mm Yacht-Master. In short, many feel that it was the right watch at the wrong price. Traditionally, white metal Yacht-Masters have included stainless steel cases and platinum bezels. That watch launched at 2016's Basel, and it was a big hit. Platinum bezel, dark rhodium dial, stainless steel case and bracelet. A combination that has traditionally generated a reasonable retail price while keeping a sound price gap between the Yacht-Master and a full steel Submariner. I think I speak for everyone when I say I like the 2019 Yacht-Master 226-659, but I would have loved it at half the price with a steel case. Jumping in, I can see we've got some friends joining in. Brian DeBee saying, yes, Batman on Jubilee is number one. I can see Christopher Peterson, hi, did y'all miss me? You better believe I did. And I could see right here Edward Ledden saying, honestly, I would go with a 1675 or a 16710 at this point, and I can't dispute that. Pre-super case GMTs are hot right now and probably going to get hotter. They're not getting any younger. Okay, the second most controversial Rolex of 2019 is a watch that I will defend. And I will defend because I dissent from what seems to be the consensus knee-jerk opinion over the first 24 hours. The new Sea Dweller 43mm is a first ever two-tone steel yellow 18-karat gold model, and I think it's been unfairly critiqued. I'm going to go to bat for Rolex and defend them here. It's based on 2017's 50th anniversary Sea Dweller, and I would go so far as to say that this new reference 126603 should be the only version of the 43mm Sea Dweller. Follow my logic. Whereas the previous 2014 to 2016 40mm Sea Dweller was considered to live in the shadow of the almost identical and lower-priced 40mm Submariner, the 2017 Sea Dweller 43 seems to live in the shadow of last year's redesigned 44mm Deepsea, which has a Sex Bomb D Blue variant that's even hotter than the basic Deepsea. If you want the ultimate Rolex dive watch, you're going to pick up a Deepsea. The 43 in steel gets lost in the mix. With its gold bezel, bracelet center links, dial details, crown, the 2019 Sea Dweller establishes a striking and strident identity. It makes no apologies, but it clearly breaks with the standard Deepsea. The two don't look alike. I would say that this is the version of the Sea Dweller 43 that should be continued into the future. Discontinue the Neo Red Sea Dweller, make that a special piece for guys who bought early around the anniversary, and make this the only 43. It would serve a niche, and it would be distinctive within the line. I would also say that this watch has historical precedent and Rolex history on its side. To wit, the 1950s and 1960s Rolex Deepsea Special that went to the bottom of the Mariana Trench on the Trieste bathyscaphe, that was built in precisely this steel gold fashion, despite being a monstrous technical timer, and it combined that absurdist union of diving gear and high society pomp. I would also say that since 1983, we have had a permanent presence in the Submariner collection of a two-tone sub, so this is Rolex precedent. It's not something new. It's not a novelty designed to titillate and amaze without any kind of link to Rolex's real heritage. I would also say that the 2019 Sea Dweller isn't for everyone. This goes without saying, but I think it is an alternative to the Audemars Royal Oak Offshore without the price premium. This is a $16,000 watch new, and I also think it's an alternative to the Hublot Big Bang with more integrity about its construction and its pricing. It's consistent with Rolex history, it's built with integrity, and it helps to differentiate the overlooked 43mm core model. I am in favor, even though this is not personally a watch in my style. Jumping into the chat box, Eric Johnson saying, this just helped me feel good about leaving Seiko behind the price points and never considering Grand Seiko at all. And I could see right here, Captain Zed is saying, I like the 44mm Deepsea. I like it more since last year's redesign. It fits better. And I could see Payman N saying, hi Tim, I love your feed. The feed continues. And JBO Surf from Adelaide saying, the Sea Dweller died when the Cyclops arrived. Many feel the same. Tudor 2019 has drawn even more pointed barbs than Rolex, guys, and you know where I'm going with this. We're talking the Code 1159 of Baselworld, and it's not the Black Bay Chrono S&G. Back to our original point regarding modest ambition. Tudor across the board was pretty modest this year. 4 new basic models, all of them based on the Black Bay collection. Shocked? Didn't think so. And not surprisingly, 3 of them are based on existing Black Bay models, which is to say they're basically just color and case material variations. And that said, all true, lack of ambition, but the real flashpoint appears to be a single new Tudor watch that isn't based on any existing platform. This is why I'm calling Tudor the code 1159 of Baselworld 2019. The 2019 Black Bay P01. Can we go full screen with that, guys? I don't know what strikes a raw nerve in collectors. The vituperative, the invective, the polemics that I've seen hurled at this watch in the last 24 hours. I don't get it, and I'm going to defend this piece because I kind of like it. First of all, at $3,950 with a COSC certificate, it's a chronometer, a 70-hour in-house automatic silicone hairspring built with Tudor integrity, which is to say, I really like what's inside this watch too. People seem to be hung up on the crown, which has an air of Seiko diver about it, and I'll admit that, just not the $6,000 kind of Seiko diver that we've been talking about. I could just as easily say that the P01 recalls the best of the Girard-Perregaux Seahawk line, which is a smashing success for a sub $4,000 Tudor watch. And the new Tudor, that's the GP right there, but the new Tudor draws on real history that predates any of those Seiko and Girard-Perregaux lookalikes, so they are the ones that resemble the Tudor, not the other way around. The 1967 Tudor US Navy prototype, and that's it right there, predates any of those pretenders, and it gives the new watch historical legitimacy. Finally, the Black Bay P01 is one of the only Tudor models of at least the last 3 Baselworld fairs that doesn't feel like a clone or an iteration of any existing Tudor model. So in terms of ambition, this packs enough for the entire Tudor model line. Everything that was lacking in the Rolex and the rest of the Black Bay line for 2019 is present in this watch. They took a risk. Please, guys, celebrate that if nothing else. It's even mechanically interesting with a hinged lug system that uses an end-link locking device to fix its offbeat bidirectional 12-hour bezel. For all of those who just want endless iterations of the Black Bay, black, blue, bronze, green, red, fuchsia, whatever, the new Tudor, admittedly, does nothing to stop that repetitive juggernaut. You're going to continue to get every different potential rotating bezel Black Bay your heart could ever desire. This is for folks who want something a little bit different and are willing to pay a very reasonable price to get it. For everyone who asked for some daring from Rolex and Tudor for 2019, this is it, for better or worse, and I am a fan. All right, I can see the Watch Lounge saying, I still couldn't pay $4,000 for something like that. Christopher Peterson adding in that Seahawk is beautiful, and Naresh Pape is saying, I think people are upset because they didn't get what they want, and they were rooting for Tudor tremendously. Here's the thing, like I said at the beginning of the show, there are no bad watches in this rundown. This survey is talking about managed expectations, and when there's a disparity between expectations and the delivery, people are either going to be euphoric or disappointed, and that's the heart of the controversy that we're discussing. We're not slamming these watches. Which brings us to Breitling 2019, year 2 of the Georges Kern experiment. There you go. That's their novelty page on Breitling.com. Everything posted today. There was much that went right. Let's talk about that first. A Navitimer reference 806 1959 re-edition proved that Breitling is in touch with both its history and its vintage collectors who braved the long winter of Super Avengers and Breitling for Bentley. The new 806 is 41 millimeters, stainless steel, beaded bezel, fine beaded bezel at that, manual wind B01 manufactured no-date chronometer and limited to 1,959 pieces. It is almost indistinguishable from the original. You can scarcely tell them apart. Hint, it helps to look at the AOPA wings. Euro wing dial, monotone chronograph, that's the pre-1960 monotone register and dial, all black, seals the deal. $8,200 is a fair price for what you're getting, with prices between $3,450 and $4,200. Moving on to the next collection, the 2019 Super Ocean series is ready to boost the brand's mainstream sales and occupy the space vacated by upwardly mobile Omega and Grand Seiko, while hopefully keeping Oris and Tag Heuer at bay and away from Breitling sales. I'll also add that for 2019, the new Norton motorcycle and Bentley Centenary Premiers look really good. Take a look at that burl elm dial. That's real wood. That's a handsome piece. Prices pushing $10,000 might be too much too soon for this recovering brand, but the watches look great. So here's the problem, and here's the controversy. Oh dear. 73 new models for 2019, many of them minute variations on existing models. After culling the SKUs, the SKUs, and the variants in the 2017 Breitling catalog for 2018, the temptation to expand the brand has returned, and it seems to be inescapable and irresistible. The most successful brands in the business focus on a few successful models and avoid diluting them with too many spin-offs. I like most of what Breitling has done this year. In small doses. In microcosm, the models are likable. As a group, they overwhelm. It's tough to both rehabilitate a brand and teach skeptical clients to accept an endless array of similar watches. This is a problem of their own making and the root of the controversy. And again, it's not a knock on any one product. It's a strategy thing. There's a collector instinct, and you guys know it, I know it, to be wary of sprawling model lines. And that's well founded by the example set by pre-2018 Breitling, among others. I believe in the brand and I believe in its current management, but the sheer number of new models might be the one misstep of 2019 for the folks from Grenchen. Let's jump into the chat box, see what you guys are saying. Philip Sebastian Peterson saying, I hope they will bring back the Top Time. I hope they will bring back the Super Ocean 2005 slow chronograph. It was making the rounds at their roadshow in vintage form, so a little bird told me, it's possible. And I could see that Shaluso is saying, the wooden dial on the Breitling for Bentley is stunning. I agree with you. I really like that watch. The green dial Bentley is also stellar. And I could see Liba Campbell Roberts saying, guys, please, Rolex isn't about looks. They are a charity that makes solid, highly refined watches. It is worth mentioning that they are a private foundation under Swiss law, and they do contribute a lot of money to charity, watchmaking charities in particular, and the School of Geneva. You can see that right here. Michael Chatter saying, when will we get a manual wind Navitimer with a display case back? That's the Breitling of my dreams. All right, moving along. It's not impossible. Here's a watch that everyone loved, and the only controversy from Zenith is going to be that I have an objection to what's happening here. Zenith wowed and dazzled at Baselworld 2018 with that watch, and 10 pieces were sold of its high-frequency Day-Fi Lab to beta tester clients. They were the equivalent of the folks who bought the original Tesla Roadster. Caliber Z0342, I should say, featured a monoblock silicon oscillator created by deep reactive ion etching, operating at 30 beats per second or 108,000 vibrations per hour, or 3 times the rate of an El Primero chronograph. The promise was enticing: reduced service requirements, no lubrication on the escapement, and precision of 1/3 of 1 second per day. Remember, when you're looking at Grand Seiko Spring Drive, which has a quartz oscillator in it, you're talking half a second per day. This is a mechanical watch from Zenith that will do 1/3 of a second per day. Low amplitude even meant that you got a 60-hour power reserve, and it's still 50 for the production version this year, because for 2019, the Zenith Oscillator is back in a big way. There it is with its leaf-like sprung escape wheel, and you can see the monoblock oscillator all around it. The Day-Fi Inventor is the production version of the Lab, and it's here and yours for $18,000 US. It's a 44mm titanium watch with the Aeronith foam metal bezel. And this is an everyday watch with 50-hour power reserve, dial lumen, 100-meter water resistance. It now operates at a scalding 129,600 vibrations per hour, or 36 beats per second. I'm okay with the price, and the technology is astounding, but here's my objection, and here's why I think we're heading for a controversy that's not quite here yet. Looking down the road, there's a storm coming. It cannot be tuned, regulated, or even finished by traditional artisans and watchmakers. Yes, it makes a sound when you listen to it, but so does a quartz ticking away at 1 beat per second. So does an old Beta 21 quartz. We're at the point where these are no longer horology as we've come to know it and love it. 35 years ago, we pulled mechanical watchmaking out of the fire. On the cusp of quartz's final victory over mechanical watches, we decided that the emotion of something handmade involving a human being, imperfect in its execution, was more desirable than technical excellence taken to the nth degree. You see where I'm going here? Because if an atomic wristwatch would be more perfect still than the Day-Fi Inventor, would we logically discard this in favor of that? Is a less accurate watch built and finished by a person more desirable than a machine-made product impeccably replicated over endless computer-controlled iterations? And that is how this regulator is made, and many of its parts, such as the escape wheel as well. In contrast, guys, open your heart. Here's a Pascal Coyon chronometre. White lacquer dial, built in France, 41 or 42 millimeters, your choice. It's made to order by the man whose name is on the dial. Here is the movement. And I'm glad we went full screen here. It's based on a Unitas 6497, but every piece is finished by hand. Do you even care that it's based on an old 6497? I don't. Here's a closer look of an alternative execution of the same movement. I'd rather see a true watchmaking manufacturer like Zenith try to bring its products closer to this ideal than automate production to perfection. I believe there's a place in the world for both, but what you're looking at here, at that Pascal Coyon, that is high horology, whereas the Zenith at $18,000 and mostly machine fabricated is luxury horology. The difference is that haute horlogerie is going to involve a human finisseur executing the finishing art or the métier d'art, or a watchmaker who assembles and regulates. Luxury horology will have a permanent secondary market, and it will be serviceable, but it will not necessarily involve the human touch, and that's going to be the distinction going forward. I would rather see Zenith make sure it puts up a post and maintains a stake in the world of haute horlogerie. Let me know what I missed, guys. Baselworld is ongoing. We haven't seen a darn thing from Omega and Swatch's rival show, so that's still coming. Hublot hasn't shown us the wares. Let me know, what do you think are the controversies of Baselworld 2019? Tell me in the chat box. And remember, we're doing a normal show at 6 p.m. on Monday. It's going to be watches tonight. Send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. And remember, binge watch my 60-second videos on Tim_Masso on Instagram. Open another window, pick up your phone, follow me right now and help me hit 50K in 2K19. To everyone who got up early, stayed up late, joined me in the chat box, and commented, thank you so much. You guys make my job possible, and it is humbling. Thanks to you, thanks to my crew for staying late on a Friday. Enjoy the weekend, enjoy the remainder of Baselworld. Time out, Tim out, and thanks for logging on.